a battery. I'm staying charged on my feet, I'm like a factory. Dropping lines like an assembly. I'm staying on point, it's my strategy. Feel like they're tracking me.
How you doing, guys? Welcome to ZukaTube, and today we're going to be reviewing Outer Range Season 2. This just came out May 16th, 2024 on Amazon Prime. The first season was 8 episodes. Now the second season is 7 episodes, so that's a little interesting. So we'll get into all this stuff. I'm going to go through, I'm going to read the summary here, just in case anybody forgot the show or hasn't, seen the show. But obviously there's going to be a little bit of spoilers before the big spoiler section at the end. But if you could, like, comment, share, subscribe, rumble, all that kind of jazz. Now, let me just read this summary here, right? It's: the Abbotts are coping with the disappearance of their daughter-in-law when the neighboring Tillersons make a play for their ranch land. Tensions come to a head when a mysterious black void arrives at the Abbotts' pasture. And that's pretty much the general concept for the first and the second season, because by the time you get to the second season, things start happening kind of almost in full circle in a sense, and I'm going to get into that, right? Now, this show is kind of a, sci-fi kind of drama, it's a little bit suspenseful, that kind of thing. It's got its, dark meets Yellowstone almost kind of feel. Let me know if you feel differently, but that's kind of the vibe I get from it, right? So anybody who watched my review of the first season knows that, I like kind of this Western stuff, and I like this time weird kind of dark stuff where you go into different time periods and you're traveling through time, and it has different effects on your modern day, and you have to, pay close attention to what you do and how you react to certain things, because it's obviously going to warp your entire life and the life of the people around you, right? And there was some quirky stuff from the first season, like Billy's character, for example. I played the clip from that. Oh my God, that was so goofy. Don't give up, 'cause you have friends. What the hell is up with that guy? And let me tell you, it gets even weirder in the second season here. Let's get right into this, right? The first thing that you kind of notice about this is that with this battle with the two families, there's obviously a lot more connection than you think, and the kind of feud between them goes far back, from the beginning of the families and the battle between the West pasture and all this stuff, right? And you start to wonder, what happened to the rest of Royal's family, right? Because he came from the 1800s in that area. Were there any remaining descendants? And you do find out about that. You find out more about the Native Americans, because Joy ends up going back in time at the end of the first season, and she's kind of stuck in this new, well, not new, but old version of where she lived, and she gets attacked and they kind of jump on her, but she gets saved. And one of the people in the native group is a time traveler. So you start to find out that this is a lot more broad than you think, right? Now you have the Tillerson family, and you have now Autumn, which is supposed to be, supposedly, the granddaughter, but from the future, right? Or the granddaughter that technically time traveled to the past and then aged up to meet the granddaughter now, who's a lot younger, right? In this second season, the Abbott family is at risk of still losing their ranch, right? Perry, he has a situation where he obviously is guilty of murder of one of the Tillersons. So with that being said, he has a problem because he went into the hole. So what is he going to do? He's now traveled into the past. So there's that conflict. Does that make an even deeper issue for them in the ability to maintain the property? And then obviously there's issues with the Tillerson family. Billy, he's in a coma. He was in, his bad accident from the previous season. Same with Autumn. She was in a bunch of people were, because Luke went digging for the mineral because the hole was no longer there, and opened up a time portal, and a stampede of buffalo, or a herd of buffalo, came out of this hole, and somehow he survived. It's really just out of control bizarre throughout this whole season. There's so many more questions that open up with this season than anything. And you have to go into now Perry's story, where he's back and he sees his parents when they were younger, but they're not together at this time. But he starts to get together with Royal. He tells them what's going on, and they start to try to figure things out, you know. And at the same time, you've got Luke, who's getting closer to this mineral situation, trying to help his family, but his father's a nutcase and treats him like the bastard son who abandoned the little brother. And he's trying to get closer to Autumn, and they all get these visions, and Autumn's got, it's wild. And at the same time, they're still looking for Amy's mother, right? So it's wild, and there's so much to get into, and it's so hard to kind of keep some kind of order here to tell you about it. But let me just get into my overall review, right? I have so many questions with this. I want to know the deal with time. Well, everyone does, right? But every show has their own interpretation, right? So what happens when you go back in time? Does it affect the present day, or do you create an alternate reality where things are going differently? When you come and you meet yourself, does that technically start to warp things and create another version of yourself for the future? Because let's say your future self meets your younger self, like in the case of Autumn and Amy. Does that start to warp the potential future for Amy because she now knows the potential future and have met a later version of herself? Or does that create an alternate reality where now there's going to be, as she grows up, it'll be a different version alongside of the older version of her, which is Autumn? All very confusing. Or is that just the general order of things, and will Amy get her memory wiped and stuff like that? Like, you don't really know, and I'm not going to get into much into the spoiler section there, but there's that whole situation. Then there's the whole thing with the mineral. Like, what does the mineral itself do? There's lots of stuff going on with the grandparents, the children, and then the grandchildren, right? You're starting, well, the grandchild, I should say, because there's not really any other grandchildren in the whole thing. It's mostly just children, their parents, and then there's a grandchild. But it's interesting to go through and see these family dynamics play out, and the controversy and conflict between the two families, and as well as the rest of the town. I do have some kind of things that I'm disappointed with, like the whole Joy storyline and her going back and becoming a native woman, like in a tribe with this other woman who's a time traveler and all this dumb shit. I don't care. But I get the one part that they used at the end that I'll talk about in the spoiler section. And some of the family members, I want to try to figure out who the closest characters to prioritize are, because there are a lot of characters to deal with. And like the show Dark, there's some layering to it, especially as they travel through time, some of them. And at the same time, I think some of these things may be cons. They are somewhat pros. Well, not the Joy stuff. That's just some weird, like, pandering nonsense. Like, nobody wants to see some out-of-shape, obese, like, lady try to climb on a horse and act like she's tough and go to handle all this shit herself. It's stupid. No one cares. It looks pathetic and ridiculous compared to the characters that actually look more genuine. Also, this show is a very slow burn, as well as the first season. It didn't pick up till the end. I would say generally the same with this, maybe a little more here and there throughout the beginning. It's only 7 episodes, so it does go by fast, but the little bit of a slow burn that it is throughout kind of, I don't know, it feels like it stretches it out a little bit, right? But overall, I would give the second season a 7 out of 10. It's good. It gave me more questions, though, in the second season than in the first season, and I wanted some more answers, as well as, like, if they would have gave me half the questions rather than more questions, that would have been nice. I would have liked a little bit more answers and a little less, like, sidestepping with some of the other characters. There's some more development with Autumn's character and the visions that she had, and some of the other characters, and, you know, Billy's character and Luke's character and Perry's. It keeps going and going. And there's other characters as well, but it's just a lot, and some of them I don't feel are as important, right? The main characters that I think that are also maybe the most important, or that are going to be the most important aside from Autumn, would be like Royal and Wayne. Those are the two that I would expect. You know, and another weird con about this and some weird stuff, the Tillerson family has just some freaky shit going on with them. Like the Billy and the father having this weird like kissing scene and dancey, hovery, weird like rebirth scene. Dude, I hate it. I hate it so much. The Billy singing stuff is weird and bizarre and funny, but the creepy like dad and son bond thing is disgusting, bro. It's so gross. Get it out of my face. Ugh. But either way, 7 out of 10. Let's get into them spoilers. Spoilers. Doop, 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 doop. Spoilers. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so a bunch of stuff is going on. You know, they have this whole thing where the mother comes back and kidnaps the granddaughter. And then Autumn has this weird shit going on where, you know, she starts to think that she might be the older version of the granddaughter. And she starts to get this weird, culty, prophet-like mentality and doing all this weird shit, and then wants to kidnap the granddaughter herself for her own nefarious reasons to throw her in the hole. Now, obviously, her family doesn't want that to happen. The Abbott family does not at all and wants to stop that. They also want to get their house back because their house is getting seized. It's a big catastrophe, and they finally get this situation where Joy gets a standoff with Autumn and ends up shooting her. Amy still falls in the hole. She wakes up in this place. These two people find her. Are they her weird cult parents? Who knows? But she has amnesia, so that does give you the indicator that Autumn is Amy. Now, Luke, he ends up killing Billy over his weird, crazy shit with Autumn, and now the father, Wayne, is like totally collapsed. The house is on fire, literally. He freaks out and jumps in the hole. They have this weird change in things as well, that when Joy goes back, she has this situation where she's almost killed in this weird, like, you know, ridiculous, like cowboys and Indians kind of garbage. And basically Royal saves her. There's also, you know, this company that's trying to go there and dig up what's going on and find out and investigate. And the one son is trying to work out a deal. You know, Rhett, he's working out a deal with this company and kind of extorting them in a sense, and would basically turn on his family for a price. I'm excited still for season 3. I felt like season 2 wasn't as good as season 1. There was some weird shit going on, and I have a lot more questions, but still good. 7 out of 10, Outer Range, ZukaTube, out.
I'm staying charged on my feet, I'm like a factory. Dropping lines like an assembly. I'm staying on point, it's my strategy. Feel like they tracking me. Yo, let me get on one. Nah, go get your tracks up. Homie, can I steal some? Homie, you can't stack up. My brother, can you shout me? You're barking up the wrong tree. My dog, why do you doubt me? Cause you can't do shit without me.
Real at the radio and never play it, but that's cool. The enemy's supposed to hate it.